You're listening to The Solstice Broadcast, a chilling horror novella by Silas Voss, a tale of cosmic terror, cursed frequencies, and the price of being heard. Narrated by Avery Skye. Warning, some signals should never be played. Scene 1. Static Drift. Midsummer. Theo Grey leaned into the microphone, the cigarette between his fingers trailing a thin curl of smoke. The studio smelled of burnt coffee and ozone, the kind of stale air that clung to places forgotten by time. Welcome back, Nightcrawlers. This is Radio X, and you're listening to me, Theo Grey, your voice in the dark. Outside, lightning split the sky, a jagged wound of white against the black. The storm hadn't hit yet, but it was coming. Theo could feel it in the way the old soundboard hummed, in the way the posters behind him curled at the edges like they were trying to peel away. Dead air stretched too long. He took a slow drag, the ember flaring in the dim red glow of the on-air sign. Then, with a flick of his wrist, he opened the lines. You're tuned to Radio X, 103.1 FM. Dying tech for dying towns. His voice was a dry rasp, the kind that settled into the cracks of midnight. We got thunder outside and dreams on the dial. So what keeps you up tonight? The first call came in breathing. A man's whisper, wet and too close to the receiver. Do you hear it too? The sound behind the sound? Theo smirked. Weirdos were part of the job. Buddy, if you're hearing things, you might want to lay off the cough syrup. The line clicked dead. The second call was worse. A woman's voice humming a tune that made Theo's teeth ache. Then, a whisper. Turn to 103.3 at dusk. Do not let it in. Do not look at the glass when it comes. The call cut before he could respond. Theo rewound the audio, played it back. Turn to 103.3 at dusk. But it wasn't dusk, it was nearly midnight. He scribbled on a notepad. 103.3. Check tomorrow? Shrugged. Probably some prank. Then the power dipped. The lights flickered. The soundboard warbled, the signal dragging underwater for 3 seconds. Long enough for Theo to hear music bleeding through his headphones. Not from any input. Not from any channel. A waltz, old, warped, like a phonograph dredged from a swamp. Then, a click, a burst of white noise. A voice, distorted, mechanical, echoing, "You are not alone in the booth." Theo spun. The studio was empty. He checked the board. No external feed, no aux, nothing. Clean. Then the phone rang. Line 6. The one not connected to anything. 4 rings. Silence. Theo lifted the receiver. No dial tone. No static. Just breathing. Slow. Wrong. Then, he made the broadcast last year. He never stopped screaming. Click. The vision hit like a seizure. A man in a Radio X booth, screaming into a mic, his face gone. Not torn. Not burned. Just missing. Sound waves rippled through the glass. Every radio in the room screamed with him. Then, gone. Theo was back in his chair, sweating, hands trembling. He flipped the mic on, forcing a laugh. That was a fun little glitch in the Matrix, huh? Tell you what, if anyone else hears creepy number stations tonight, call me. Let's find the ghosts together. The on-air light flickered. The song cue skipped to a track he never loaded. A drone. A woman's voice reversed. I see you, Radio Man. I see the mirror behind you. Theo turned. The mirror reflected the studio. His reflection wasn't moving. He threw his mug. Glass shattered. Static swallowed the studio. Every channel went black. Then, pulsing through the noise in Morse code, welcome back, Theo Grey. Scene 2. 12:24 a.m. The solstice begins. The air inside Radio X had turned thick, clinging to Theo's skin like a second layer of sweat. The cracked mirror behind him glinted in the dim light, its shattered pieces reflecting fragments of his face, his eyes too wide, his mouth a tight line. He rewound the audio again. I see you. Radio Man. His own voice. Slower. Deeper. Wrong. Theo wiped his forehead with the back of his hand. The soda in front of him had gone flat, the aluminum can beaded with condensation. He took a swig anyway, the syrupy taste doing nothing to wash away the static crawling under his skin. Outside, the storm still hadn't broken. Just heat. Just waiting. Then, the soundboard lit up. Every channel blinked in sequence. On. Off, on. One by one. 01011, 011101, 01010111. Theo's fingers hovered over the controls. He'd seen enough old horror movies to know this never ended well. But he counted the binary anyway. WHY. The studio lights dimmed. The phone rang. All 6 lines, at once. Line 1. A voice buried under static, more machine than human. He told them it was just a prank, too. Click. Line 2. A child's whisper, giggling. I saw you in my dreams. You weren't wearing your face. Click. Line 3. Silence, just the ticking of a clock, not his clock. Theo's breath came too fast. He stabbed line 6, the dead line, the one that shouldn't exist. A pause. Then, his own voice, older, rougher, terrified. Don't stay, don't play the tape, burn it, burn the goddamn reel. Theo's throat went dry. Who are you? You already know. I was you before you listened too long. Click. The drawer beneath the desk was locked. Theo didn't remember locking it. He didn't remember putting the tape inside either. But there it was. A reel-to-reel, label peeling at the edges. Solstice Broadcast, do not play. His handwriting, his warning. The door burst open. A woman stood in the threshold. Trench coat, sharp eyes, the kind of posture that said she'd already seen things she couldn't unsee. Jane Hart. She didn't introduce herself, just pointed at the tape. Don't play it. Theo barked a laugh. Already hearing it, it's bleeding through everything. Jane stepped closer. The on-air sign flickered above her, casting jagged shadows across her face. It's a recording of a man losing his mind, she said, voice low. It aired once. Everyone who heard it disappeared. They called it an auditory contagion. Theo's fingers tightened around the reel. And yet here you are. Because it's happening again. Jane's gaze didn't waver, and we only get one night to stop it. Theo put on the headphones, pressed play. The reel spun. The power surged. Lights died. Then, a scream. From years ago. From somewhere else. From inside the headphones. Glass shattered. Not just in the studio. In every car, every house, every radio tuned to 103.1. Theo ripped off the headphones, but it was too late. The mirror behind him pulsed. Something dark stepped through the crack. Scene 3. Enter 4 a.m. The static between seconds. The air in the studio tasted like burnt copper. Theo's fingertips flickered at the edges, not like flesh, but like film caught in a faulty projector. He pressed his hands flat against the soundboard to steady them. The wood felt wrong. Too warm. Too close to breathing. Across from him, Jane loaded a fresh tape into her portable recorder. Her movements were precise, practiced. The kind of calm that came from staring into the dark so long it started staring back. The tape's not just cursed, she said, not looking up. It's a key. Opens the door on solstice night, when the veil's thinnest. Something's broadcasting through us, Theo. Theo wiped blood from his ear. It came away black in the flickering light. Then why haven't we left yet? Jane nodded toward the window. Outside, the parking lot looped. The same car pulled in. The same moth hit the glass. The same headlights cut through the fog. Over, and over, and over. Theo's stomach lurched. He barely made it to the trash can before vomiting. A splatter of bile and static, the latter crackling between his teeth for a second before dissolving into nothing. The glitch hit like a knife to the temple. Darkness. Then, a younger Theo sat in the same chair. No face. Just a hollow where features should be, smooth as a mannequin's blank head. His voice came through the speakers, not his mouth. Welcome back to Radio X. Population. Echo. Static. Theo reached out from the console, fingers stretching like radio waves. You played it. You looped us. You're the node now. And reality snapped back. Jane's slap stung. Theo gasped, the studio reassembling around him. The air reeked of scorched metal. You're phasing, Jane said, voice tight. It's pulling your signal across layers. If it completes the loop, you won't come back. Not here. Theo touched his ear. Fresh blood. What do we do? Jane yanked a rusted signal jammer from her bag, Soviet-era tech, all blunt edges and faded Cyrillic warnings. Remember the Hamlin broadcast? The pirate signal that made 43 people disappear? They didn't disappear. Jane thumbed the jammer's power switch, a low whine built in its guts. They transmitted. They're somewhere on the dial now, still screaming. Across town, radios woke up. Kitchens, gas stations, cars parked along empty streets, all playing the same warped lullaby. You are not flesh, you are not time, you are not alone. A woman covered her ears. Her hands vanished. A man vomited cassette tape, the brown ribbon spooling between his teeth. The jammer roared to life. For 3 seconds the studio held. Then the mirror reassembled itself. Shards of glass levitated from the floor, sliding back into place with a sound like bones clicking. From the polished surface, a figure stepped through. Theo, but taller. Hair too black. Eyes pure static. You're not supposed to resist, Alt Theo said. Jane threw the jammer. It shattered against his chest. No effect. Alt Theo placed a hand on real Theo's sternum, and for one nauseating moment, Theo's ribs turned transparent. Wires coiled where his lungs should be. A tiny spinning reel where his heart beat. It's converting you into a receiver, Jane whispered. Then the lights exploded. A dozen Theos flickered into existence. One screaming, hands clawing at a mouth sewn shut with audio cable. One weeping blood dials embedded in his cheeks. One still hosting the show, grinning into a mic that dripped black fluid. They spoke in unison. It always starts with one broadcast. It always ends in silence. You are the tower. You are the signal. Transmit and be free. Jane fired the flare gun she'd brought just in case. Alt Theo burst into flames, but they burned backward, sucking into the muzzle like a film reel in reverse. Theo collapsed. Jane dragged him into the hallway as the studio door slammed shut behind them. From the sealed studio, the broadcast crackled back to life. Welcome back, Nightcrawlers. Theo's voice, calm as a dead channel. Tonight's playlist? Whatever's left of your mind. Jane kicked open the front exit and froze. No parking lot, no town, just radio towers stretching into the dark forever. The world outside was gone, only frequency remained. Scene for the Mirror Hour, 12:59 a.m. The Solstice's hollow core. Theo woke on the floor of the Radio X archives, his mouth full of the taste of burnt wires and old tape. Cassettes surrounded him like shrapnel, each labeled in his own handwriting, dates he didn't recognize, years that hadn't happened yet. He sat up. The room breathed. Not metaphorically. The walls expanded and contracted in a slow, sick rhythm, exhaling the scent of rotting paper and hot metal. Jane? His voice didn't echo. It stuck, absorbed by the thick air. No answer. Theo staggered to his feet. His reflection in a broken monitor showed his hair streaked with more silver than before. His left eye flickered, just for a second, into static. The station was wrong. He walked familiar halls, but everything was mirrored. The on-air sign glowed backward. His coffee stain on the desk was on the wrong side. The scar above his eyebrow had migrated to his right temple. He stepped into the broadcast booth. The clock read 12:60. That's not a real time, Theo whispered. The chair creaked. Someone was already sitting at the console. Him. But not him. This version wore Theo's old college jacket, hair neatly combed, smile stretching too wide. Hey there, Nightcrawler, Mirror Theo said. His pupils were tiny silver dials shifting between stations. The tape on the table. Mirror Theo slid a cassette across the desk. One last show. Play it, and you leave. Stay whole. Stay real. The label, Mirror Hour, Do Not Broadcast. Theo's fingers hovered. Every forbidden tape he'd played had cost him something. His voice, his face, his place in the world. But you gain something too, Mirror Theo murmured. You hear the truth. Glass formed around the booth, walls, floor, ceiling, sealing Theo inside a kaleidoscope of wrong versions of himself. Younger, nose bleeding onto the mic. Older, sobbing into dead air. Empty, just a vacant chair and headphones filling with static. Jane was trying to reach him. Outside the glass, she swung a crowbar at the static-choked hallway. Each strike sent out reverse echoes, the sound of impact coming before the swing. Her own voice whispered back at her. You never saved him. You only listened. Theo inserted the tape. The deck rejected it, spitting the cassette back out with a wet, organic sound. Blood oozed from the slot. The hands came then. His hands, dozens of them, erupting from the floor mirrors, grabbing at his ankles, his wrists, his throat. Mirror Theo stepped backward, dissolving into the glass like smoke. Broadcast, his fading voice whispered, or be erased. The studio clock ticked. 12:60, 1, backward. 5 notes. 5 shattering mirrors. With each ding, a reflection exploded. 1, the younger Theo, gone. 2, the older Theo, gone. 3, the empty chair. The booth. 5, the world. Then, darkness. Just a mic, a blinking red light, and a voice. Jane's? His? Something else. Slithering through the void. It's already broadcasting. You are the tape now. Scene 5, the last transmission. Dawn. The skyline is a lie. The city woke to Theo's voice. It spilled from car radios, smartphone speakers, the tinny earbuds of a jogger who'd never listened to Radio X in her life. Even the hearing aids of old Mr. Henderson down on 4th Street crackled to life with that familiar graveled rasp. Welcome back to Radio X. Tonight's the last night, or the first. Depends which side of the dial you're on. The tower. Theo climbed. Bare feet on rusted steel steps, each one singing beneath him like a struck tuning fork. The staircase spiraled up into a sky that wasn't sky, just pulsing waves of frequency, vast as an ocean, thick as blood. Behind him, Jane limped, one hand pressed to her side, where the wound from the mirror hour seeped through her shirt. Not red. Black, like ink from a shredded tape. "You don't have to finish this," she shouted over the howl of dead air between them. "We shut it off, Theo. You came back." Theo didn't turn. The reel in his hands, last transmission, thrummed against his palms, alive. "I didn't come back," he said. "I just came through." The heart of the signal. The control chamber was a cathedral of meat and machine. Consoles grew from the walls like tumors, knobs and dials pushing through veiny tissue. Wires slithered underfoot, hissing when stepped on. At the center, a reel-to-reel player with teeth, its mouth gaping wide enough to swallow the tape whole. Theo approached it. The machine purred. Jane grabbed his arm. "If you press play, there won't be a signal anymore. There'll be only signal. No people. No time. Just your voice. Forever." Theo stared at the tape. Maybe that's the price for being heard. His finger hovered over play. Time folded. Theo saw himself at 8 years old, pressing his ear to a transistor radio, chasing ghosts in the static. The Radio X booth flickering like a dying bulb. They're gone, they're gone. Jane, but not this Jane. A version trapped inside a reel, mouth moving soundlessly behind the glass. Listeners screaming into receivers that echoed back their own last breaths. Towers sprouting from chests, antennas bursting through skin. His own skull, hollowed out, a microphone where his throat should be. And behind it all, the broadcast entity, a face made of static, a voice made of every voice that ever vanished into the dial. The choice. Theo's finger trembled. Jane's hand tightened on his shoulder. "You can't unbroadcast yourself. There's still a signal left in you, one that's human." Theo closed his eyes. The reel began to spin on its own. Instead of pressing play, he spoke, directly into the machine's gnashing maw. "To anyone still tuned in, I'm sorry, I broke it, I let it in. But maybe if you're hearing this, you're not too late." He ripped the tape from the machine. The tower screamed. Metal sheared. Lights exploded. The walls rained shrapnel and static. Theo grabbed Jane as the world came apart, and then black. Epilogue, Radio X Studio, dawn. Sunlight through broken blinds, dust motes dancing in the quiet. Jane sat alone at the mic. She clicked on air. "This is Radio X. If you're hearing this, you survived it. Or maybe you were never listening at all. Either way, we're off the air now." She removed the headphones. The mirror showed only her reflection. Somewhere else, a boy turned the dial on a flea market radio. It locked on to 103.3, Theo's voice, faint but clear. And that was the final track. Until next time, sleep with one eye on the dial. The boy tried to turn it off. The knob wouldn't move. He smiled.